The United States Constitution was not a perfect document when it was presented to 13 original states beginning in 1787. There was a call by some for the addition of a Bill of Rights to guarantee in writing the rights of Americans that had been won with the nation's victory over Great Britain in 1781. The Bill of Rights was demanded by the Anti-Federalists who opposed a strong national government. They said they would approve of the Constitution if there would be the addition of a Bill of Rights. Immediately, James Madison, future fourth President of the United States, began crafting a Bill of Rights consisting of 10 amendments. The father of the Constitution presented them to the original 13 states for consideration. In 1790, the new nation ratified the first 10 amendments, which has become collectively known as the Bill of Rights. Today, we will take a look at the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. This is the wording of the First Amendment of the Constitution. Several freedoms had been listed that have become part of the American psyche. It is often said that the First Amendment guarantees the separation of church and state by making it unconstitutional to establish a national religion while simultaneously allowing for the free practice of worshiping any religion. The Freedom Amendment also lists the people have the right to free speech, free press, free assembly, and free petition. What do these mean? The 5 freedoms of the First Amendment guarantee freedom of religion. The original 13 states were mainly Protestant states, but Maryland was a Catholic state. Christianity was the dominant religion of the nation during colonial times, but it was not the only religion practiced in the United States at the time. Judaism was also practiced, as was Islam. The Founding Fathers were said to be deists, believers in a higher power, whatever a person may conceive of as that higher power. They did not add the word God in writing for any oaths that had been written into any official documents, like the oath of office the president takes, which is written in the Constitution. By tradition and by practice, the word God was added to the oath of office by George Washington when he took the inaugural oath in 1789. Furthermore, nowhere does it say that a Bible must be used when administering or receiving the oath of office. That also was an effect added by Washington when he received the oath of office in 1789. Freedom of religion led to the idea that church and state needed to be separated. Each of the states had been founded by groups of persecuted peoples who had left England to escape the persecution of the Anglican Church, or the Church of Henry VIII. Puritans, Catholics, Calvinists, Quakers, and others fled England to come to the New World and establish new lives for themselves, free of persecution by Henry VIII and subsequent rulers. As such, the states did not enforce a specific religion upon the nation to keep in line with the reality of their existence, namely, the nation had been founded as a safe haven from persecution. The Founding Fathers did not wish to impose a specific belief system on the nation to keep with that notion. However, humans being humans, they still applied the moral values learned from the faiths they practiced when creating laws and determining how to create equity under the law. This is not to be confused with them creating a Christian nation. They had founded a deist nation, free to worship any higher power that the people connect with. Freedom of speech has a long tradition in our nation. Colonial governors had sometimes resented negative things said against them and sought to punish those who had uttered the negative things. However, colonial courts had always protected the people's rights to say their mind without fear of reprisal from those in power. Americans have always been free to speak their minds, whether politicians, entertainers, or the average person, good, bad, or indifferent, without fearing getting arrested because their views differed from those in power. This freedom has always been a cornerstone for the nation and have been defended by the Founding Fathers. Anti-Federalists felt that this freedom could be ignored by a strong national government if it was not in writing in the Constitution. They refused to accept just the word of Federalists that this speech would not be infringed upon. It is important to remember that what separates the United States from all other nations is the degree of our freedom of speech. It should continue to be so. Freedom of the press also has a long tradition in our nation. John Adams himself argued cases for freedom of the press. New York was the first state, while it was still a colony, to establish the concept of freedom of the press. A colonial governor had demanded that a newspaper writer who had criticized his policies be thrown into jail and a key thrown away because he did not like being criticized. The courts ruled against the governor, saying that newspaper writers cannot be held accountable for expressing views disagreeable to government. Newspapers are to present all angles of issues, whether the government is presented in a negative or in a positive light. That freedom has been important, creating trust in the press, informing the people of differing points of view on issues, and allowing for informed decisions by the people. Attacks on the media and on the press are reminiscent of national press outlets, of which this nation has none. Freedom to assemble is a guaranteed right. We have to gather and to protest. For centuries, this nation protested unfair and unjust actions, laws, and policies. The American Revolution itself began because of protests against unfair implementation of taxes and the increasing tensions the British response generated when reacting to those protests. Thousands of protests erupt across the nation every year, with very few turning violent or lawless, despite what rhetoric may be spreading in recent months. The right to assemble is a key American principle. It is a form of free speech to garner free press to address grievances the people may have concerning issues of importance. Freedom to petition the government to address grievances is another vital freedom held dear by Americans. We, the people, have the ability to communicate with the government our dissatisfaction about decisions or policies that could negatively impact us. We present our grievances, knowing that the government will listen to our arguments and make informed decisions about the policies in question. When the government gives the impression that it can't be bothered to listen to the people, this freedom becomes endangered. Yet, this freedom has a long history in this nation. Colonists petitioned the British Parliament about the Stamp Act and about the Intolerable Acts. In the case of the Stamp Act, the Parliament repealed the law. When Parliament ignored the petition to repeal the Intolerable Acts, protests erupted that ultimately led to increased tensions caused by the British responses to those protests. Americans have long enjoyed the 5 freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment. Each stems from colonial days. Each distinguishes the degree of freedoms Americans enjoy from the degree of freedoms other nations enjoy. Attacks on these freedoms have begun in recent years, leading to Americans to demand protection of these freedoms. Policies targeting a reduction or restriction in these freedoms are continually met with outrage by the public. It is no surprise. Any policy that inhibits freedoms once enjoyed without fear is anti-American. Americans have always disagreed on controversial topics, even on topics such as slavery, but never has this nation restricted freedom of speech, press, assembly, or petition because of it. Whenever such restrictions had been attempted, they were met with outrage and removed. The same is true about the separation of church and state. The United States can be said to be a predominantly Christian nation because of the large percentage of Christians comprising the population, but the nation had never been created through the Constitution as a Christian nation. The preamble stated one of the purposes of the Constitution was to seek the blessings of liberty, which is a far cry from identifying the Christian God or providence. This was the closest the Constitution came to identifying a higher power at all. Therefore, the nation retains the separation of church and state to prevent the formation of a national religion, which is unconstitutional.